Goodnight Punpun is one of the most heartbreaking and impactful works anyone can read. It's one of those works that captures the nature and essence of depression, and how anyone is liable to it, and maybe even more in our current society. The manga follows the protagonist Punpun from childhood to being an adult. His life is unique, but at the same time all the incidents that happen are in one way or another relatable to us as the reader, since they're all general things that the majority of humans can and will experience. There might be a few exceptions, yet at the core, the manga manages to keep us identified with these events that Punpun is experiencing. This is coupled with the fact that he is a bird. Yes, stylistically the author chose to portray Punpun as a bird thing, giving him a very simplistic design. This at first can be jarring to some, but it works in the favor of the themes and the manga itself, since with the simple design, virtually anyone can project himself or herself onto Punpun. The same design is used for his mom and uncle, making the story that much more powerful. It's a story that shows the dark shadow that we all have, how anyone has the potential and can become the villain. Any innocent face we see hides mountains of secrets that we'll never know, how we face our very own existence and the shadow that lies beneath it, which can consume us, but sometimes we are hardly conscious of its existence. It's a monster that builds up over time, from one insidious event after the other, building slowly into our subconscious before appearing. The monster behind insanity, behind all the hideous crimes and atrocities of mankind, the bleakness it creates, and the one that is behind depression and ultimately self-deletion. Now there are obviously different shades to this, and self-deletion is not a crime by any means. The point is how all these increments that manifest in our everyday life and push us slowly, over and over again, compiling until something happens. What I derive out of Punpun concerning depression is sometimes depression and the feeling of being stuck forms not from one incident alone, but develops by small insidious increments. That even though some of the incidents can be seen as having an influence and impact, they're ultimately just more things compiling on top of each other. All these incidents that, with the majority of them seeming of not much significance from afar, slowly builds this terrifying picture, this mass of rage which transforms Punpun. As the manga follows his life, the majority of what is shown in the story, his daily life, is parallel to our own lives. The institutions and relations we experience on a daily basis, like school, work, friends, etc. With even those hurtful events that Punpun and those around him experience, are things that the majority of us are very liable and vulnerable to experience. A story so grounded in reality and what we ourselves are exposed to, day after day, creates one of the most haunting things imaginable to us. A veritable terror that is ever present, almost always slowly making progress within ourselves as we try to compress it. Another exploration of a different aspect of human nature is his crush, who lies about her existence. She is a face, a mask, presenting an illusion, the ideal life that she wished to have. Yet life has clawed her down into the abyss of human failure, of the worst that humanity has to offer. And who can blame her for creating this illusion when she has an abusive mother, a seemingly inescapable dark force? With this one image making her look like someone that is selling her body, she is someone who is selling an existence, a life that she never lived. Punpun at this moment seems to be a predator. She ultimately finishes by self-deletion in a dramatic fashion and in an unexpected and heartbreaking way. Yet this comes as a subversion and not as a surprise, since tracing her life all the way to the ultimate tragic event, it makes sense. The depression and inescapable world around her, the destructive actors in her life, the bleakness of the future, all contributed to it, and it makes sense. Even though at the moment of it happening, we can't and refuse to believe it. Another aspect would be puberty, viewing it through the lens of Punpun as he hits this stage of life. At this moment he's awkward and doesn't really know how to express himself, which creates this awkward and sometimes creepy scenes, as he comes off as sexually aggressive to the girls he's with. To return back to the shadow, the increments that lead to folly, the obvious truth that we forget, that we, our character, isn't formed by singular actions, but by the habits of our everyday lives that slowly form us. The frustration when we see others and even ourselves slowly decay because of things that are seemingly out of our control or our failure to control it. The insanity of going through the motions, repeating the same thing over and over again with no end in sight. Something we can all relate to. At the end of the story, where he has lost the crush of his life and now exists by going through the motions day by day, a feeling which can be summed up as somewhat content, but not really. A feeling that many of us feel and can relate to. Maybe we can interpret this as even though life is not easy, there might always be a means to solve things, to find a better path, with him symbolizing how not to end up. Maybe we can escape what has consumed him and achieve the fulfillment of life through hard work, patience and dedication. To escape the meaninglessness, which always follows you closely, and succeed where no success seemed possible.